Hi, Shannon O'Flaherty here. Do you think that you're alone in this world? Well, that spiritual philosophy that we're never alone because we've got our connection to source energy, the God part of ourselves, and our angels and guides with us and supporting us is a hard one for a lot of people to accept and reason with, especially if you don't have a support network of people around you. But I'm not talking about that philosophy. When we're babies, and babies are extremely resilient, we make a subconscious choice or decision, or it's really our perception of things. So you might not feel that you're alone because you have loved ones around you. Maybe you have kids, you're close to your kids, maybe you're married, maybe you're in a relationship, you've got good friends. And maybe you're wondering why some of your relationships never work out, or why you feel those top three patterns that keep especially women stuck of feeling invisible, not enough, and alone. Why do we feel this? Why is the majority of people's fear about, I'm going to be alone, I'm going to die alone, right? What is this loneliness that we have as a human race? So you might not feel that your birth could have anything to do with it. Maybe you had a beautiful birth and you have wonderful parents, everything was great. Except that because of those first two formative years, maybe you don't know what was being, what your surroundings was like, what you were being dealt with, actually. So all of this, your birth trauma, we're calling it birth trauma, starts with your ancestral imprint. What kind of information and energy did your ancestors pass down to your parents, right? Your parents picked up and were holding the mantle for a lot of their parents' stuff. And it was another time. It was another time and a harder time. So there's that. And then in utero, what was your mother feeling? What was going on for her? There's all sorts of ways that she could have not been present for you, even though you were inside of her. And perhaps the birth was absolutely smooth and wonderful, idyllic, no drama, no nothing. But what about right after the birth? Did you have to go into an incubator? Uh, were your parents tactile parents? Did they hold you a lot? Did you have time to bond with your mother? Were you born into a family with many, many children? Were your parents away? Did they leave you with a nanny or somebody else before you were 2 years old? I see that happens a lot, and really not a great plan for the kid, right? The children need their mother, their prime caretaker, which is generally the mother. The father, great, but the mother is the prime caretaker in that. So, what kind of safety and security, fundamental, ingrained safety and security was there for you as a baby? Did your mother breastfeed you? All of that bonding, all of that extra holding? Yes, they feed you, maybe with a bottle, but it's not quite the same. And then those first 2 years, what was going on? Did your mother have postpartum depression? Were you born into a noisy environment? Were you immediately put with a nanny? Were you in daycare all of the time? All of these are separations from our parents, from that bonding. If any of you have ever read the book, The Continuum Concept by, I don't know who, The Continuum Concept, especially if you're pregnant now, read this book. It's absolutely a game changer. Some anthropologist went off into the jungle and lived with this tribe, and they saw that the mothers lived and slept with their babies until they were two and breastfed them until they were two, which also acted as birth control. And then when they were ready to have another baby, then the baby went to sleep with the father, right? So that baby was always with one parent or the other, and those babies could run around not being put in restrictive playpens and all of that because they were safe. They had their parents, they had their community, they had their other little baby friends, and they weren't going to run off and just be left alone to fend for themselves. Also, did your parents leave you to cry it out? I know that that was one theory back in the day of good parenting. If your baby's crying, just let her cry it out. Not cool. So these are all ways that we as babies decide, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously decide, wow, I'm alone in this. I've got to figure it out. I've got to find my way through in life. And so what does that create? That creates a singular, independent, I am mindset. Individual, singular, alone thinking. So that when you get with somebody else, what happens is that you either give up all of your power to that other person because you're only yourself. You don't have this balance of your energy of collaboration with others because you're yourself. Also, if you're an only child, you learn a lot of the I am thinking. I keep thinking of other ways that this could affect you. But what it also does is when you're then in partnership and you're not considering the other person fully because everything is all about you. And I see this all the time with my clients, with everybody. And we think of me first. And yes, I teach me first, self first. You have to love yourself first before you can be fully available to anybody else. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your mindset, how you think, well, I had a perfect birth, everything was groovy, so that's not affecting me now as an adult. But the ways that it can affect us as an adult are really, really stealthy. So you might be a very independent person, and that's great, but you're craving partnership. Accept that. Are you thinking about moving forward with another person? Are you thinking about merging with that other person? And years ago, I took the Life Book course on Mindvalley. And at some point in time, they talked about how your partner must come before your children. And at that time, I was thinking, no way, no, wrong. My kids are first. Absolutely. My kids are first. My kids, not our kids, my kids, right? So that's one thing. Hello, notice. Didn't notice that. But they explained that in partnership, when anything is multiplied, you have much more power when you work in twos, when you pray en masse. Everything expands and is much more powerful and forceful. So if you're doing homework with your kid and your partner comes in, stop what you're doing with your kid for the moment. Say, honey, just a minute, and you go and greet your partner just to let your partner know you're there for him or her. How was your day? Maybe your partner really needs that hug so that you're a multiplied force together. And then you go back and finish doing what you're doing with your child. That might trigger a lot of people. It triggered me a lot. But when they explained that your partnership is the most important thing that you can have if you're in partnership, that's what you have to focus on first. And they did. They changed my mind. So when you have I am thinking, a lot of people, I mean, I am, yes, anything you say I am is an affirmation. But when you have solo individual thinking, it's harder for you to open your thinking to the collective, to the collaboration of things. So we always talk about being part of the earth, being part of the grid, being part of the energy that connects us all. Except maybe people understand that intellectually, but they're not getting that at a cellular level because of this alone thing. So I encourage you now to look at your thinking. I've been called out on it very recently. My alone, I am thinking that it's all about my schedule and what I'm doing and my connection to things because I am one person and alone. But now in partnership, I have a new partner. Yay. Pray and ask for all you desire. Focus on that and it will come to you. I'm living proof. In partnership, there needs to be a shift so that you can include your partner's independence along with yours. And it's subtle, but it's profound. And so many of us, even in partnership, and I see this in my past with Bobby Baby, who you all know, that in my way of being inclusive with him, for example, here's a really good example of this. When we repainted the living room, we were redecorating, and he said, do I get a say this time in how we're going to decorate? Because the first time, I think I probably just went on ahead and did it, right? He's married to me. If he loves me, he'll love my color palette. So the next time when we were redecorating, I said, yes, of course you have a choice in this. And I went and picked out about 6 colors that I liked. And from that 6, I gave him a choice. But did he have a whole choice of the whole color palette? No, because of my independent, singular thinking. I wasn't inclusive in the whole picture of that. And likewise, he wasn't inclusive in the whole picture of that because of his commitment to work. So look at yourself. Look at yourself in your relationship. Look at yourself in your relationship with your parents. Maybe you left home really early. And I know it's not your first 2 formative years, but some kids can't wait to get out from underneath their parents' ruling because maybe you had really patriarchal parents, my way or the highway kind of thing. And that's not being inclusive. That's not allowing your child to form their own thoughts, to form their own beliefs and responses to things. So there's so many aspects that can go into what started at birth and that you've carried on with you through your life that affect you now that you don't even realize. You don't realize because it's part of your norm. It's not a big thing. Probably your partner doesn't notice it either because they're probably in the same place. There's so many different variations on this theme. And I encourage you to start looking, especially if you're in relationship and you're finding it difficult to communicate at the level that you want to, look at your singular thinking, look at your inclusivity, look at your level of collaboration and your ability to connect to the collective. Because really, if we're all going to move forward as a one world nation, we've got to understand that we really are part of the collective on the bigger picture, but also at home with your loved ones, you're part of a collaboration. You don't have to give up your power to anyone in order to open your heart to be inclusive. And then guess what? You really won't feel alone anymore. So, any triggers out there? I really hope so. Part of my job is to trigger people and make people go, no, that's not true, or you don't know what you're talking about. I really do. So if you want to have a chat with me and this interests you, very soon I have a digital TV show starting, which I'm very, very excited about. I think this is the first time I've mentioned that publicly. And there will be more information to come on that one. And I really look forward to connecting with all of you. So book a free call, seriously, just a free call. I'm not trying to sell you anything because we all have free will and free choice. I love to connect with all of you. I would love to give you a little aha moment over the phone and just see who's out there connecting with me. I love you and look within. See you in the next video. Bye for now.